How do we live completely off the grid? I talk about it in our Society 4.0 series of regional utilities facilities with my guest of today, Edgar Peetam. Welcome for this interview.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Yeah, sure.
Edgar, thank you for inviting me in your home. You're one of the heads of the Society 4.0.
Coordinator, yeah.
Coordinator,
Yeah.
yes. And I think this house is a perfect example of where we are sitting right now for the domain that you are coordinating, because it is almost completely self-sufficient. We've looked at you call it the factory. You have a utilities closet in your home. It's almost like a walk-in closet. It's completely filled with everything that you would need to run a modern home on electricity and to also heat it at the same time, to store that energy, to deliver it back on the grid again at the most financial opportune moment. Can you tell me a little bit about your expertise and how you got into this subject and why it suits you to be the head coordinator of the regional facilities domain of Society 4.0?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a large introduction, but I'm raised as a technical engineer. Actually, yeah. My background is aeronautical engineering, and I've always had a passion for technology. So I'm not really into energy or water or whatever, but I'm fascinated, and my passion is also with energy, because I feel that I need to be independent on everything. Yeah. When I was young, I also did mechanic jobs on cars or on your bicycle or on your. So everything what you do, what I did in the past was about technology. So I'm not only an aeronautical engineer, and I'm now mainly working in the offshore business, but I've always been fascinated by technology. That's it.
Yeah, so you have the mind of an engineer, basically. You figured this out very early on.
An engineer searches for solutions. You have a problem, and you try to solve that problem. And now the problem nowadays, what we have is that everything gets centralized, everything, we live in a specialized world. Everybody is a specialist in their own field. But next to it, you're completely dependent on the whole society. Yeah? You go to the supermarket for your food. You have a subscription on your electricity, on your water bill. So you're completely dependent on everybody else who delivers you the comfort for your life. And that's what I think you can do it yourself by just looking what there is, and search for a solution, whatever it is, for food or for energy or for whatever. Because everything which you have, you're a specialist in financial or whatever, but you have to pay for all the other things, and everything gets more expensive and more expensive every day. And the question is that really necessary, or can you do it yourself? That's what I'm searching for. And as an engineer, you search for solutions, and there are also solutions in that field.
Yeah, because we live in a world where, you often hear say by people that, we live in a world where everything is possible. There's all kinds of solutions, but yet we are still stuck in this narrow kind of system that is based on a one-size-fits-all fixed solution that can be implemented as a plug-and-play solution. Here, this is what you have, this is where you go. I know not so long ago, my parents, they tried to get a new TV installed, And the guy who came to install it, he said, okay, so what's your Wi-Fi code so I can plug it in? And well, they try to have less electronic noise.
They try to make it easy for you, and even if you don't know the technology behind it, you don't have to know it anymore nowadays.
Exactly. You get a consumer product.
Yeah, even if you have a flat tire, you call for somebody to help you. While in the past we did it ourselves, and now it's made so easy. You have a subscription for your car or whatever, and they gonna help you. Okay, it costs you a day, but they change your tire and you're on the road again. While in the past we did it ourselves and we were on the road again within half an hour by changing your tire yourself. Yeah. And we can't do that anymore nowadays. It seems like we can't do it anymore. Of course you can do it, but it's the will to do it. And that's everything is made so easy now that you don't understand the technology, and that's also the danger of the technology. You don't understand it anymore. But maybe there is more technology in there than you think of that there is. So but you're not aware of it, and therefore it's completely difficult to get detached of that because it's made too easy.
Yeah, and I kind of relate to this in some form, because I remember when I was young, we got the internet, and I remember that when we got the internet, it was open, it was free. It was like a wild west of, whoever put something on the internet and all crazy ideas, the flowering of 1,000 flowers. And all of a sudden, 10, 20, 30 years later, all of a sudden we don't have that field anymore with all of those flowers that are blooming anymore. We have a bunch of tech giants, and it's like they hyper focused on specific solutions that worked for a economic model that is money driven, system driven, and not human driven. And perhaps there's an analogy to this when we talk about the energy sector.
What was there first? Was there first money or was there first energy? Was there first food or was there first money? Why do you need money to buy food or energy? That's ridiculous. Energy in this world is for everybody. Why do you need money? Why do you need some capital to gain these first life things? Yeah, you can't live without food. You can't live without energy, and also without water. So why is everything made like a profit model? Because and that's also the funny thing, people are only aware of profit models, because that's the only thing that's promoted. And people don't think anymore of what else is possible without the profit thing in there. How can you just support yourself without that profit model? Are there models that are only supporting you without anything else that you have to pay to a subscription or whatever to get the energy or to get your food? That's actually ridiculous, because you can make your food yourself and you can make energy yourself.
Again, I'm looking towards what the internet has become, because you mentioned the word subscription. Nowadays, there's a whole bunch of things that you can fix, you can have solutions for, but they're not software based anymore. They are subscription based. So you get a subscription to a service and you're paying for that every month. And in the past, you would pay for a software, a product, a piece of software that somebody built, and that would just do the thing forever and ever, as long as your computer supported it. And it's kind of the same with, okay, how do we establish our life in such a way that we don't have rundown costs later on in life? How do we minimize our everyday spending. And if we can have a garden of our own, we can have a food supply that doesn't cost us
exactly
the energy to go to the supermarket and the money to buy the stuff that is polluted with chemical fertilizer and everything else that they put on it. It seems that there's a societal change needed for this to revolutionize our way of living, that we reassess again of how do we want to establish ourselves in this world. And since this is your domain, I would like to ask you, how do you see this change happening?
Well, the change is happening from thinking of how can you do the things yourself without the help of the community first. That's the first thing, because everybody needs to think for itself. It's not a general thing that you can just buy the things you don't work for. It's not your specialism, just so you buy it. And nowadays you see that everything is getting more expensive. So the question is, who are you actually supporting with that? Is it really a benefit for yourself, or is it also a benefit for somebody else who just takes advantage of it? And so the question is, all the things I know, all the things that I see on television or whatever, is it a profit model or not? If it's a profit model, then generally it's promoted and it's not completely supporting you as an individual. It's a kind of a parasite mechanism. So, but there are also solutions you can do yourself, but you need to initialize it by yourself first. That's the first thing to do. People need to initialize the solution for itself. So go on and search for a solution. And we of Society 4.0, our domain, has some points set down which you can do for supporting yourself with energy, or also with water, and that's a start. So we give you a start of where you can search for it, but then you need to do it yourself, because it's something you need to do. We are a non-profit organization. We are all non-profit guys who just see that the world is changing and see that there is there needs to be an answer to why is it all going this way? Why are all the big companies profiting from all the individuals working harder and harder? But you need to be triggered yourself to search for the solution. There is no one-fits-all solution. That's the problem. So one has his own house with his, he bought his own house. The other is renting a house. So there are different situations, but there are solutions to support yourself in this case for energy, but also for your own water supply.
Can you share a little bit of those solutions? What, for people watching right now, they might be thinking, well, I'm following the Society 4.0 series just because I want to have this figured out. I want to try to step out of the system and into something new. What are some practical things that basically everyday life people can do to diminish their dependency and to maximize their own self-sufficiency?
So for electricity, it's important that you search for the solution at the other end of the electricity meter. So everything that goes through the electricity meter is noted and charged. So what you need to do is search for a solution where you can produce your own electricity and use it yourself under your own roof. So that's the other end of the electricity meter. Everything that goes through the electricity meter is noticed and is charged, but at the other end of the everything that you generate and use under your own roof is for your own benefit. So their solar cells are for now till the time that there is free energy available. There are manners to generate your own electricity, and if you're having thought of having a new build, your new home, for instance, then I think you need to take a look at the Cesar battery, which is kind of a season backup battery that stores heat in stones. So in summer you can store the heat with the solar cells, and in the winter you can take the heat from the stones from this accu from this season accu.
So just so I have it clear, this is a battery. This is a big size home battery that it stores its energy as heat into its encasing.
Yeah, it's a kind of a big, let's say, container.
Right.
That you bury in the ground. You can just bury it in the ground. You put it full with basalt, stones.
It's a volcanic stone basalt. Yeah.
Yeah, and there is a water pipe going through the basalt stones. And in the summer, the stones are heated by the energy of the solar cells, and in the winter you can, because it's so hot, it stays 450-500 degrees. You can take the water. You can take the heat from this battery actually to warm your home, to heat your home.
Right.
So in the summer you heat it up. In the winter you take the heat from it.
Right.
And this is something which nobody heard of, or a couple of people heard of, but the normal man doesn't know this because it's not a profit system. Because once it works, and nobody can profit of it.
It's hard to get people addicted to something that is not addictive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's completely a beneficial system for yourself and not for anybody else. And it's very simple. It's also very environmental friendly, because it's just a stone and it's just a pipe, and there is almost no maintenance. Yeah, okay, it's maybe expensive to first, because you need some ground to have this container in there, but it's a simple solution.
Well, that's the first bottleneck often for people, is that they need the investment money. So you need to invest in it at first, and then also you only invest in things that you tend to keep long term. Meanwhile, most people are renting these days, because you live from paycheck to paycheck. Then if you have a rental house, then don't even talk about having a piece of land of your own. What are you going to do if you don't own the land? If you're going to have to remove it, then what are you investing in? You're investing for the owner of that property, not for yourself. So there's all of these strings that are attached to people that restrict them from moving out of that system.
Yeah, well, that's all one of the symptoms of the system, that it's getting narrower and narrower, and that there are more rules and more rules, and you can't do this and you can't do that. But the question is, if we really need a solution and this is actually a simple solution, which everywhere there is I think ground enough, at least beneath the ground, so you can just bury it. I think there should be enough room to do this. But the question is, why is not everybody doing this? Because it's such a simple solution, and can give you. It's also a solution for all the narratives that are out there now for CO2 or for whatever. It's such a simple solution for 20, 30 years you have free energy from the sun.
Yeah, I completely agree. And at the same time, I also understand how this came about. We at the time of this recording, we're sitting here in the Netherlands in a beautiful place, by the way, in the not very far from Amsterdam.
Yep.
But when I look out of the window here, when I look in front of me or behind me or beside me, I can see that all the houses are stacked together, and these are even spacious houses. So these are considered to be a house for a person that's done very well. And at the same time, my instinct is telling me, and this is also a philosophy that I try to put out there, is that every family needs a football field. You need it for things like this, but you also need it for having vegetable gardens, have some fruit trees, or maybe a smoker to have some fish or meat to store them long term. I think it's just a quality of living that we've never realized that is available to us. And once you have that, all of a sudden you get liberated by these things. All of a sudden you think, oh, I can do it in this completely different way that wasn't possible before.
That's the thing. You need to think of how are you going to make the solution for yourself, and for everybody it can be different. But you at least you need to start thinking of it. And that's also what we did. We have kind of a subscription, and we can harvest our own food in a big garden, which is supported by the whole community. So you can also do it with more people than only you. Just get together and start your own garden somewhere. Maybe not in the city, but next to the city, but that's also a thing and a way of life, because you need to go to that garden every time and time again. It's not that you walk to the supermarket, which is around the corner. You need to do more than that.
Well, if you have a bigger piece of land, the garden is even closer than
even closer. But if you don't have it, if you're living in a flat or whatever, and then you can also rent a garden somewhere, or rent it together with the whole community or with the whole flat or whatever. But you need to get started of thinking that you can do it yourself. And okay, it will cost you some more time. Yeah, sure. Yeah. But it will benefit you at the end. The question is, there is a kind of a break-even point somewhere that you can work for the state and for the government and for everything. But there is also a tricky point that you can say, oh yeah, all the time that I'm working, I can also put in my food or in my energy. But you need to get started of thinking of being more self-sufficient. And I think that's the main goal of Society 4.0, to get more self-sufficient. That's the main thing. Because people in the past were more sufficient for themselves. Now we are not really completely dependent on all the people in the society. If you need a plumber or you need a carpenter or whatever, it's all specialized. You can't do it yourself. Of course you can do it yourself. Yeah, okay, you need to invest some time in there, but you can do it yourself. It's easier to rent a guy or to get a guy to do the work for you, but you have to pay them. And the question is, if it's getting very expensive, like in Amsterdam, where it's nowadays it's more and more difficult to get a plumber around, because he can't find a parking spot. He only has 2 hours to do your work, and then he needs to be back. It's undoable for these guys.
His time is more valuable than a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and meanwhile, if you YouTube the problem, you might figure it out within a couple of minutes.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the main thing. People need to get more, they're willing to be self-sufficient, because I think that's the base thing. And we are all working with technologies we don't understand. I think if you don't understand the technology, try to avoid it. That's my feeling. That's my philosophy. Try first to understand it and then use it, but don't use technology you don't understand.
Well, sure, and I understand where you're coming from. But meanwhile, I think that there's a lot of people who have no knowledge about a lot of things. We hyper-educated people on certain specific, let's say, European law or free time management. These are all studies that people do these days, and they have no engineering background. They have no knowledge about, they do live in this system, and they're dependent upon it. But these people still might have these considerations of like, hey, I do think that is a better way to go. I do want to step out. For instance, a good example is I think Linux. I think Linux computing system, it offers a good solution for a lot of people, what they need and what they might want. Meanwhile, Microsoft and Apple are still the biggest software operating systems. And that is mostly that people think it is too complicated to do it one. They need to have a bite-sized solution often to make a societal change.
It's maybe a little bit extraordinary, but the thing is, everything is getting too easy to pay your bills, or too easy to get a subscription, or too easy. You can nowadays they rent a bike. Why not buy a bike? It's your own bike. No, they want to rent it, and then if you just make a simple calculation, you see that when you rent a bike, you can buy it in 2 years. Why do you want to rent it? The same with phones. Why do you want to rent a phone? Why don't you buy it? And then it's yours, and you can use it for longer term. It's cheaper at the longer term, but it's getting too easy to get distracted to a subscription. And I think that's the wrong way to go. Yeah.
I agree with you. There's merit in ownership. There's merit in taking care of something. You see that people who rent a house, they take less care of what they are renting, because after they're done with it, they
throw it away.
I mean, there's the saying, if you rent a car, don't be gentle, it's a rental. I mean, it is that kind of mentality. Once you own it and you paid for it with your own sweat and tears, and you embody it as if it is a part of yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. That's true. That's what it is. People that say that they need, that they care about the environment, they need to be more aware of the things they are buying and the things they are using, and not throw it away. Because, it's all an environmental problem. We talk about CO2 or nitrogen or whatever problems we have here in Holland, but the question is, the solutions that we give for these so-called problems, are these really solutions for the longer term? In maybe it's a solution for that problem, but it will initiate another problem, and that's something that is not studied. So the question is, what are we actually doing with all these windmills in the North Sea, and with all these so-called hydrogen solutions, which actually consumes a lot of energy before it's hydrogen.
It never really comes to a point. They've been developing it for years, but it never comes to fruition. It seems like, all these hydrogen powered cars that they've been working on for years and years.
Exactly, but hydrogen is not they call it green hydrogen, but before it's green hydrogen, there is a lot of energy lost already.
Yes.
Which is actually a waste of energy.
Yeah.
And everybody talks about hydrogen. When it's eventually hydrogen, it's good for the environment. But before it is hydrogen, there is a lot of waste already generated by all these blades that are erodized over time. There is no blade that can hold it for 20 years. The design life of a windmill is 20-25 years. Yeah. There is no blade on sea, on the sea that holds it for that longer time. Yeah. So these blades are getting longer and longer. I believe the blades are now already 100 meters. So within 20 years, let's say 10 years, these blades need to be replaced. And what are you going to do with the waste? There is no solution for it yet, but okay, then we bury it or we recycle it in stones. That's one of the solutions. And these stones, okay, then you build a house, and after 80 years, these stones are waste again, and then it comes again in the environment. So there is no really solution for recycling these blades yet, and we are already generating hundreds, maybe thousands of windmills where these blades need to be replaced. I don't think it's a solution for our environment, actually. When you talk about CO2, that's only one thing, but there is a lot of other environmental problems you generate at the same time, which is not solved.
I think it often comes down to a question of responsibility. Yeah. We tend to think of responsibility in a way that, we want to be responsible up front, but we never look at how we are responsible in the back. Like, what kind of waste do we leave behind? How do we treat our waste? No, that's a problem for someone else. I have a subscription for that as well. Mm-hmm. I hire someone to deal with that, and thereby I'm responsible. But could you really, and this is an experiment that I want to try for myself if I'm going to be living off grid. I'm sure I could manage paper. I'm sure I could manage that and recycle it back into the natural world. But it gets already a little bit more difficult when I have an envelope which has a little piece of plastic in it. What do I do with the plastic? And so it gets more and more complicated the more of the product that it is that I have. If I have an electrical problem, let's say a screen, a defective screen, okay, what do I do with that? There's a lot of different components in it if I open it up, and all of those components all have rare metals in it.
We haven't learned. We only learned to replace things. We haven't learned to repair it anymore, and it's too expensive or whatever. To do the things, to be more self-sufficient and not so specialized. We only learn one thing in school. This is what you need. This is what you like. This is what you need to do. But it's so important that you have a broader view of what you're doing to the environment. What are you doing to what's the impact of the people, your neighbors, or whatever. It's so much broader than what you need to know actually to be a good citizens, I think, and to be self-sufficient or at least have a view on what impact does it have when I buy this, and what impact does it have when I buy this. Do I go for the rental part, where I don't care about if it's if the design life is only 2 years? Or do I buy it myself, where I care for it, and I maybe can use it for 20 or 30 years? And that's, I think also, I think with the energy problem we have right now, I see it as a problem. This is a dead end. And I think what we also have for the last century is that there are a lot of inventors have been out there that have invented kind of a free energy device, which is then ridiculized and by the mainstream media or with the general leaders of our countries, that it shouldn't be a solution, or the general
academia.
Academia.
Yeah, it cannot be a solution. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It cannot be.
We've already decided that it can never work. work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Without, and then I also asked the question, why did we hear of Einstein, but we never heard in our school books of Nikola Tesla? Nobody ever mentioned that guy. And I think maybe that's the greater guy under the inventors of the last century. And all his inventions were covered up. Or there are missing puzzle pieces, and that's the thing we really need to worry about. And that's what I think that's part of the Human 4.0. We need to develop us further to be more, curious about, what else of solutions are possible. Because there is much more possible than we learn at school. And I think what we have learned so far in school is a dead end, because we are polluting the world. We are what we say, this is the solution, has other problems, which we then deny, certainly. So I think that's a thing we need to be more aware of the solutions that are maybe possible. And if we have the attention to go there, with the intention, the willing to find another more sustainable solution for our energy problem, then we need to invest in it and need to investigate it.
Yeah, I always look towards nature. Nature, I believe nature has all the answers. And often when people look at nature, they say, well, nature is very diverse. And I don't really like that word. I think it's I think it's not a sufficient way to describe nature. I think abundant is a better way to describe nature. Nature is abundant in all its different forms and ways and solutions, and because it is an expression of everything that is possible within the universe. And so when we come to live in a world that is based upon systems of abundance, that is naturally abundant, whichever way that you think, whichever way that you go, you can free up your mind to all the other possibilities that might be there. Meanwhile, right now we are stuck within a closed mind system, in a system of shortages. So we are constantly, all the big countries right now, they're in debt.
That's the problem. We are thinking that we're living in a scarce system, but the problem is that it's kept scarce by the money. The big guys that actually decide who is going to have something or who is not. Through the money system.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing, because what I say, what was the first? Was the first energy or was the first money?
Yeah.
So the question is, what's actually going on? If you think about it, it's ridiculous. What Tesla says, if you want to solve the energy problem, you need to think in energy, frequency, and vibrations. Mm-hmm. You need to think in these three terms. But what is energy actually? Mm-hmm. What is energy? What are we talking about? Yeah. Einstein says energy is the same as mass. And mass is the same as energy. So the question is...
what is mass?
What is mass?
Yeah.
So mass is energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is something that we've never been told in school. Yeah. But we really need to rethink of what is this world? Where are we living? Because the whole universe is energy. So there is energy enough. The only thing is, how do we harvest this energy? Yeah. That's the question. And there are a couple of engineers or inventors actually the last century that said that they and it's also proven. If you will search for it, there are a lot of inventors. There have been a lot of inventors that actually invented a solution that was also verified, and we say now peer-reviewed nowadays. but it's still not on the market. So the question is, why not? Why is it kept away from us?
Yeah.
And that's because, and when you I'm also try to think more philosophic about it. But I think at the end, it's all because of the money system. Because if there is energy enough, what's the use of money anymore? You don't need it. You don't need to save your money because there is always enough, even if you don't work. And with the transition we are making right now to artificial intelligence and robotica, everything like, let's say, making food or making energy can also be automated. So if there is enough energy, all our problems are solved.
Yeah, I think that money is also energy. So we tend to think of money as it's a thing that I need to have, and if I don't have it, there's a whole bunch of things that I cannot do. But what is it that allows you to hold that money? I mean, if you don't consider it as something that you own, but something that you get to hold it in your hands, you get to hold it for a while and then spend it for a while. Mm-hmm. It's just energy that you continue to give on. And if you live in a small community, that makes
and that's it. That's it's also energy, but it's also the attention you give to it. If you can manage yourself to get off grid, or you get that you're less dependent on the food in the supermarket or the energy from the energy corporations, then there is less need for this money, and you feel yourself more free because you're independent. And that's what we are aiming for. We try to have with this domain to give people some solutions or some thinking, some thoughts of how to solve their needs without that it costs too money. Okay, it maybe you need to do an investment in the first place, but at the end it will benefit you. It's the same as renting your bike instead of buying your bike. It's an investment in the first instance. It's the same way, but we are now triggered to rent everything and to get a subscription to everything. I think that's the wrong way.
Yeah, well, there's certain people that, let's say people that don't tend to think as money as energy, but they tend to think of money as power. And those people would like to have us, own nothing and still be happy.
Well, that's where it's going, because everything you can rent and everything you can subscribe to. So what do you want to do? But the problem is you first need to earn it somehow, and if you don't earn it, you have nothing.
Yes, and that makes you dependent on a system that basically enslaves you.
More dependent, but also if it's not possible for you to work, then you're even more dependent on the community, because who is gonna, then it's almost completely dependent on the volunteers in that sense. So I don't think you want to do that as an individual. You want to be self-supporting, when you only can live when you have overcome all the problems in your life, and this is one of the things. Make it yourself comfortable to be independent, so that you are prepared for such situations. That okay, there is you're not able to work for 3 months, but you still have your own water, your own energy, and your own food. So you can manage that.
Yeah, we tend to not want to have any general upkeep. We want to live in a world where there is no entropy. Everything stays. I mean, everybody knows this. Like you don't want to clean. You just want everything to stay clean all the time. You don't want You know, even if you're making a mess, you want it to clean up yourself. But entropy is a thing. If you have an organized system, all of a sudden things will disorganize. And the only thing that you can do to counter that is to have general upkeep, management.
It's the same as what we have in the problems we have in Holland with the water. You can fight against it, but you can also we're gonna manage our water system such that we can handle it. Because fighting is no option, because you don't know where it's going, and you don't know what you need to do, because you do one thing and then suddenly another thing happens. Yeah. So the only thing you can worry about is about how do you handle this large amount of water that comes from the other country. And that's how you should manage the climate. You should also manage your energy system, etc. How do you manage your own system, and not think of how to fight it, because that's a waste of time.
So maybe it's about a mindset versatility. Yeah. It's about a mindset of being flexible. So I often say that, you know, when people talk to me about the climate changing and everything like that, I say, that's fine, let the climate change. It's not a problem.
Exactly.
The only problem is if we cannot change. That's the only problem. The climate has changed for many times in history. If we're not if we're not capable of changing with it, then the problem lies with us.
Exactly.
Nature will be fine.
Exactly.
Nature will adapt.
We need to adapt as well. Yeah. That's the thing. That's what we should focus on. That's what we should try to manage ourselves. Because fighting is no option. You can fight this system we are living in. No, don't do that. Go your own way. Choose your own. Make your own decisions and try to be as independent as possible. That's a choice. You just do. You can let yourself manage by the system or by the commercials, and you can manage yourself by the system or by the commercials and say, okay, that's the solution. But you can also think of yourself by yourself and say, okay, I want to be more independent. What do I need to do? And you can't find that in the commercials. So you need to search for yourself, because it's no profit system.
Is that one thing that people will learn at the Academy 4.0, of how to engineer themselves towards a way of...
That's the final thing, yeah. What we are now in the stage that there are a couple of solutions. We've got a couple of ways how to think. But okay, we are searching for more wisdom by more examples, because there are more examples out there. We don't need to come up with the examples ourselves. All the examples are already there. But for instance, we have a great example is, for instance, Schoonschip in Amsterdam. That's a big community. They are self-supporting. They have their own electricity, their own heat system. They are very, very marginally dependent on the grid. And that's how we need to think, I think. But you need to do it yourself. You can't wait till somebody else does it. You need to do it yourself. And that's the trigger.
Yeah, I think that there's many triggers. Of course, there's 10 domains. And I think that all of those domains can be a trigger. But it also has to suit with the type of personality that you are. It also has to, some people are good at gardening. Well, then obviously they're made to garden. Other people are creative. Then obviously what they should do is they should be creative. And then people are more like yourself, more engineer mind-like.
Yeah, so that's a good point you're saying. So for now, all the domains are kind of developed individually, but now we need to more search for solutions that are overlapping.
Yeah.
when you look at Schoonschip in Amsterdam, that's more overlapping because you have more connections with more people. You have a kind of a community. So the first thing is search for solutions for yourself, and then because you start with the domain that you think you're affiliated with it. So, but at the end, you in the community there are all kind of people. They have their own affiliation with a particular domain, and then you can make a whole community together. But that's the next part of, I think, Society 4.0.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with finding your own way, trying to get inspired by something.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, as you know, I've been talking about this with you off camera, but I'm going to Portugal, and I'm going to go there and try to be as self-sufficient and self-reliant as much as possible. I want to get a bigger piece of land, and from which I want to make these episodes, and I want to experiment and try to do all of these things as good as possible, and try to show to people that it is possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm asking this question to all of the heads of the domains. What would you recommend me to start with? What would you recommend me to do? What do you have some advice that you would give me on my journey?
Don't use the commercial solutions. Think of yourself and follow the steps in the green book of Society 4 or the tips that are given on the Academy website. And for water, for instance, you can talk to Blue Earth Innovation, because they have a big solution for, I think that's the future actually.
What they do is water purification.
Yeah.
So they don't filter anything, but they purify. We did an interview with Franco Larus, and ever since then they are a sponsor of the show. So for all of you people, go check out their stuff. It's amazing products, and use the code Paradigm Shift at checkout.
They really have, I think, in my opinion, and I saw the test reports also, they really have the solution, for instance, to get rid of the PFASs or the medicine residuals in the water. They only have a really good solution for that, and I think that is one way to go, because that really cares about the environment, and that's what we need. We need a machine without filters. They have a machine without filters that gets rid of the PFASs and the medicine residuals, and that's not seen anywhere else.
It's unheard of. It's unheard of. Absolutely. Yeah, I have one of their smaller purifiers. It's about this big, I think, and I bought it, and I'm very happy with it, and I'm taking it with me.
Well,
so
that's a good choice, I think. Yeah.
On the electricity side, any advice, any tips?
Well, I think you're going to Portugal, so I think there is sun enough. So really, if you build your own house, think of the Cesar battery, give it a chance to take a look at it. And otherwise, you can use your solar panels together with a battery system to get off grid as much as possible. And you need to be aware of your own energy needs. What do you really want? Do you want to have a cooker, for instance? Or do you really only need the basic things for yourself? That's one of the most important things. First think of what you need, and then think of how you're going to solve it, like an engineer should do. You know, you have an input and an output. So you first need to think of what do I need, and then you kind of think of the solutions. Nowadays we are kind of spoiled with all the possibilities there are available with a washing machine and a dishwasher and a cooker, and the question is, do you really need that?
I would like a fridge. I brought a fridge.
Exactly. Well, those are the basic needs, especially when you go to Portugal where it's warm, where it can be very warm.
A freezer is nice to store things long term.
Exactly.
A washing machine, I think, it's
a basic thing, maybe. Yeah.
It's nice, but also people don't tend to think of this. But a washing machine has a pump, and so that means you're pumping water basically whenever you're using the water of the washing machine, and so we should utilize that pump and we should utilize that water and try to feed it back into the plants. And so it's all of these integration of all of these things that I think it's important. Things should be in harmony with each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
And therefore making them more efficient, making everything more efficient.
Exactly. Well, and it's possible with the technologies of nowadays. The only thing is you need to search for it, because there is no commercial that's showing you how to do it, because it's not a profit system. So you need to search for it for yourself. There are solutions, and you can make it as nice as you want, as extraordinary as you want. It's everything unfortunately costs some money nowadays, but there is a possibility to go more self-sufficient without harm, without too much harm to the environment.
I did an interview with a person that lived on Prana for half a year, and he said something that's very complementary to what you just said when we talked about energy and matter. We came to a solution that matter is solidified light, and that was already a beautiful gem in that interview. But at the end of the interview, he also said that whatever he learned from his whole journey and how he lived his life is that he came to the conclusion that everything is possible. And perhaps that is something that is the message that we can give to our viewers, that if whenever they're looking for hope, or they're looking for a way out, or they're looking for how to continue transforming their life into something different and something that is more resonating with their own belief system, is that everything is possible.
I completely agree. So and everything is dependent on the intentions we have. So if enough people have the intention to find another solution, the solution will be there. The only thing is we need to call for that solution. We need to actively call for that solution. We are grown up with in school with and with the reliability of what we see, what we can see. But there is so much more that we can't see that actually will change this world eventually, I think. But all the laws, the natural laws we have discovered over the last, couple of centuries by Newman, or name all the big inventors, or they are mainly based on what we can see. But there is so much more that we can't see. And the question is, what we see, is that really true? Or is it already a little bit different from reality? So the question is, and that's also for the domain education, we need to be more focused on what we can't see. The world we can't see. We have in energy land, they say we only know 4% of the energy in which is really around us. 96% is dark matter and it's energy actually that we don't understand. So there is much more to discover. And why are we not focusing on that? That's for the domain education very important, I think, that we learn our children that there is much more to discover. We only need to have some intention to do that.
Yeah. Well, this is exactly the reason why this show is called Paradigm Shift. Is because it literally takes a completely different set of eyes to envision a new world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what we need to aim for. Yeah.
Is there anything that you think is missing from this interview?
No, I don't think. I think we covered everything. Yeah, what I wanna trigger is that people think more of what energy is, and energy is some kind of mysterious thing that eventually drives this whole world. So there is energy enough. We live in abundance of energy, and so the people needs to think of why is this world kept in scarcity while there is enough energy around us. Once people realize that it's all made up, that's I'm convinced of that. It's made up. If you look at, for instance, fossil fuels, why is it called fossil? Because we have learned that it's coming from plants and from which is far below the surface.
Yeah. Which is an assumption.
I have talked about it with a couple of professors in academia, but they still keep the idea that it's a fossil fuel because they say they can prove it. But if you realize that also hydrogen is found in the earth, which doesn't have this C component,
right?
Where does that come from then? And that's called white hydrogen. Where does that come from then? And there are more scientists that say that fossil fuels is also made up to make the world look scarce. So maybe, and I'm not suggesting it, but maybe there is a system that recycles CO2 via the oceans back into fossil fuels in the earth. Maybe. We don't know that because it's never discovered, it's never investigated. So there are a lot of questions around this energy field that are unanswered, and there is no money go through it, no willing to solve it, and the question is why.
Yeah. Well, and also most geologists who tend to study these things are paid for by oil companies, and I think it's good for people to look into the fact of why did at some point the US dollar leave the gold standard, and why did they go towards the petrodollar. I think it gives a big clue in how we ended up into the system that we are now in depth in.
Exactly. Yeah. So what we also want to do as society and especially my domain, is to trigger people to think about to have a wider perspective of what energy is, and how it's actually divided over the world. Why? Because even if it was a fossil fuel, it's from everybody. Why? Because the earth is for everybody. So why is it made so scarce that only a few people can make a benefit of it? Mm-hmm. And that's really that we need to go through with this Human 4.0. That's a development we need to go through to realize that everything is made up. It doesn't have to be that way. So that's where I want to end this.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for this interview, Edgar.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I think that's the alarm. So that rests me to point myself to the viewer. Please, if you like this episode, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And if you're not already, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out, and we really want to hit that 1,000 subscribe mark. So please do that. Also, if you're interested in all of these things we mentioned already, Blue Earth Technologies, they have some amazing products. If you're interested, have a look at their website. They're an affiliate to this show, so use the code ParadigmShift at checkout, and you'll find some amazing products. And if you're not quite sure what it's about, then we have an interview with the inventor Franco Laros, who as said, has filtered all the forever chemicals out of the water body that was rigorously scientifically tested. So have a look at that. Last but not least, if you want to help support the show, there's a Patreon account in the link description down below. So if you want to become a member, then that's surely appreciated. And with all of that said, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.